This week, pledges around the country find out if they will be initiated into the fraternity or sorority of their choice. However, in a special Cronkite in-depth report, our own Kim Pestalozzi takes us to Tucson, where one group of brothers will not be welcoming new members.
One block east of the University of Arizona, this house will sit empty and quiet come fall 2012.
We had several anonymous reports.
And they said, no matter what, we cannot reinstate you.
Because as this store closes on the Phi Kappa Psi fraternity house, another does not open. The national organization first contacted the chapter's president in spring 2011.
Allegations of hazing.
Fielding says their investigation stemmed from fraternity actions limited from the spring of 2008 to the spring of 2010.
I think that when I was a pledge, yes, there were those things.
But not something happening anymore.
All of those people that were here when the hazing allegations were happening have graduated. I can firmly say that they are all gone.
He explains he met with the former Dean of Students, Jason Caceres, to restore the pledge program by slashing the hazing-like activities that got the chapter into trouble.
I submitted it to nationals, never heard anything back, so assumed it was kosher, good to go.
But the University of Arizona Director of Fraternity and Sorority Programs, Joanna Ives, says it did not stop there.
Starting at the very beginning of our fall semester of 2011, we had received a couple different reports.
But Ives says one student filled out a report like this one with the school as well as the national fraternity back in November 2011. She says that claim was enough to substantiate prior accusations and to move forward with its own investigation.
Interviewing chapter leadership that was part of different alleged activities that took place, looking through Facebook, finding photographs.
Fall of 2011, I got a call from nationals saying that program that I had submitted to them was, to quote them, shit.
Did they explain anything else besides it being shit?
I asked for like an example from another chapter, and he said he would email it to me, and I never received it.
Later in that semester, Fielding claims he received an email from the national fraternity stating that his chapter was on suspension and that there would be a hearing in January to decide whether it would be reinstated.
I flew on my own dime to New Jersey and went to that hearing where I was given probably about a half hour of discussion on the subject.
Next, it was time for the council, which consists of 9 members and 1 chairman, to vote.
The vote went 5-4 in favor of the supervisory committee, so the charter was good.
But this is where it gets a little fuzzy.
Then our national president decided to weigh in with a vote, which he's not allowed to do, and then which caused the vote to be 5-5, and he revoked our charter.
So I contacted the president, John Hubbard, to ask him about the alleged illegal vote. He responded, but only to ask whom I work for and how it would be published. I also reached out to Phi Kappa Psi's executive director, Sean Collinsworth, and in those emails he states no illegal votes were taken and that the meetings follow the Roberts Rules of Order. So I looked them up and found that in Article 8, Section 46, it states the chairman may vote to make it a tie, and a tie means the motion fails. However, I did find a contradiction. In that same section, it states the chairman may vote to tie unless it is by ballot. But in Article 10, Section 58, it says the complete opposite. Fielding did tell me the vote was done orally, but this just shows how there could have been some confusion. The decision to revoke the charter was announced on January 24th, but when I spoke to Fielding on February 28th, he was under the impression there was still going to be a revote the next month. Why is there going to be another vote?
They have to revote because it was an illegal vote. I called our previous national president, pointed out that it was an illegal vote, and then he called the Electoral Council and asked them to revote.
After a few attempts to contact the former president, Paul Weinman finally answered my call. However, he refused to comment twice before hanging up. So I asked Collinsworth about this alleged revote. He replied saying the initial vote was for a supervisory committee, but the second motion was not a revote, but to revoke the chapter, which he says passed with the required 2/3 vote. Why do you guys even need to make a decision at this point if they've already made theirs?
That's a good question because 1, we started it, and 2 is to determine what would be a equitable time frame for them to come back to campus and be successful.
Were you, I guess, expecting it in a sense?
I wasn't. With our investigation, we were, as I mentioned, keeping in close communication with the national fraternity.
And that does not sit well with Fielding,
I was really not happy.
because he believes they tried everything to improve the chapter's image.
I worked so hard. I put my blood, sweat, and tears. My GPA suffered, my work suffered. I did a lot to change the culture of the organization and the practices, and they chose not to look at it.
Fair or not fair, the brothers of Arizona's Phi Kappa Psi are now outsiders looking in, and can no longer call this place home. From Tucson, I'm Kim Pestalozzi, Cronkite News.
According to the Phi Kappa Psi National Fraternity, the Arizona chapter can earn its recognition back starting in 2015. However, no current members are allowed to be part of the reinstatement process.